Alright, so now that we know the semi-finalists for the FIFA Club World Cup, let's go through my thorough predictions and previews for the matchups. We've got Fluminense versus Chelsea, and we've got PSG versus Real Madrid. Two of those teams will face off in the final. Will it be Fluminense Real Madrid? Will it be Chelsea PSG? Will it be Fluminense PSG Chelsea Real Madrid? We don't know, but I'm going to make my educated guess, and I'm going to give you the reasons as to why I think the clubs that go through will go through. So let's start off though with Chelsea Fluminense, because I feel like most of you clicked on this video to see my predictions for the Real Madrid PSG. So we'll get onto that by the end. We'll save the best till last, so to speak, because it is probably going to be a bigger, better game. But look, Fluminense are not a team to write off, even just because they're not a European side. I mean, they're the only non-European side in the semi-final for a reason. They beat off Inter, keeping a clean sheet, which is very impressive. I mean, Inter, although they've been poor at times this season, they're still Champions League finalists, guys. They're a tough team to beat. And Fluminense made it look easy. And then they beat Al Hilal, who again beat Man City, showed that they're a strong team. But again, Fluminense made it look relatively easy. I mean, it was 2-1 in the end, but Fluminense were probably the better team there. I mean, that was more of an even game, but Fluminense, for me, were always just more solid, and they were just so good defensively, like they have been this whole tournament. And look, I'm not going to lie to you and say that I know all the Fluminense players. In fact, I only know Thiago Silva, to be honest. But, I mean, sometimes it's the players you haven't heard about who are the most dangerous, because, you know, you underestimate them, you underrate them. Because obviously the Chelsea players, if they come up against a PSG, they're going to know to be careful about Hakimi. They're going to know to be careful about Doué, Barcola, Dembele. They might not know so much who to be wary of, who to man mark, who to make sure doesn't get on the ball in a game like this. So I think they've got an advantage in terms of that. But again, I think for me, the biggest advantage for Fluminense is Thiago Silva. How could it not be? I mean, he's 40 now, but he's been holding his own this tournament against European sides as if he was 28. He looks like he's in his prime right now. And he's playing like it. You saw the pre-match team talk he gave in the dressing room. I think it was before either the Inter or the Al Hilal game. But the passion, the emotion behind every word he was stating was there. And I honestly think he's a big reason, if not the key reason, as to why Fluminense are in the semi-finals. And of course, Thiago Silva is a player who knows Chelsea very well. He knows how Chelsea play. Maybe not so much how Maresca plays, because obviously he wasn't here during Maresca's time. But he knows a lot of the players. You know, he knows Enzo Fernandez, Reece James, Colwill. The attackers, attacking-wise, he knows Madueke. He knows Jackson if Jackson gets minutes. So he'll definitely, you know, have an advantage in that sense. But look, guys, I think this should be a Chelsea win. I think it should be, because I think experience, when you've got a 44-year-old goalkeeper, and I'm no disrespect to Fabio, because he's actually worked wonders, and he hasn't just earned himself a 2026 contract for nothing, for no reason. You know, he's clearly still playing at a high level. But come on, guys, it gets to a point where, you know, if you've got a team full of youngsters against a team full of 40-year-olds, you should have your money on the young players. It's harder to keep up, man. It's so hard to keep up. And I think Chelsea have more to prove. I think Chelsea feel as though they have to take this opportunity. This could, you know, getting to the final of the Club World Cup would be such a good foundation to start next season off. It will attract so many players to the new project. It will just raise team morale, team spirit for next season. And I'm not saying that it wouldn't do the same for Fluminense, but I think Chelsea really have to start proving themselves, because since this Blue Code project came into fruition, there still hasn't been a year where we fought for the title. There hasn't been a year where we fought in the Champions League. There hasn't been a year where we really were competing for these big trophies. And to even like get to the final, not even win it necessarily, but to even get to the final would be so huge for these players. And I think they'll do it. However, Chelsea do have some disadvantages here. Firstly, we don't know when Lavia's going to be back. There's been some positive updates given by Maresca, and I think he was just ill. I don't think it was an injury necessarily. So hopefully he will be back for Chelsea, but it's still uncertain, and he's a key player. Obviously, Caicedo was suspended for the quarterfinal against Palmeiras, so he'll be back. And Reece James is another one who, obviously, we were very afraid when it came out that he picked up a knock in the warm-up, which meant that he was dropped for the game, obviously, for Andre Santos. And that's a big player for us, man. And it wasn't a good sign that he was injured, because that meant that, you know, usually when he gets injured for months. So we were hoping that never happened. But Reece James obviously came out on his Instagram story saying, "I'm fine, I'll see you guys on Tuesday." So really good signs there. So he'll probably be starting. And yeah, I think if Chelsea field their strongest 11, Chelsea should have this one in the bag. I'm expecting big performances from Palmer. I'm expecting big things from João Pedro if he gets given the opportunity to start. Obviously, Delap is suspended for the game. I think Cucurella might be suspended as well. I might be wrong on that. But there are definitely so many players for Chelsea who have been suspended for this semi-final. And I think Colwill as well suspended. That's another thing. We're going to have to play Tosin or Chalobah in that left centre-back position, which is not their natural position. They are both right-sided centre-backs. Obviously, Colwill is our more left-sided centre-back. We don't really have much cover for a player like Colwill on the left, except for Badiashile. But Badiashile obviously got injured quite badly against... Who did he get injured against? Was it against Benfica? It might have been in the group stages. But yeah, that's a bit of a sticky situation there at the back. If Cucurella is suspended, like I think he is, and Cole obviously as well. But look, if Chelsea get the job done, we'll have them back for the final, and that would be good signs. I'm going to go with a 3-1 win for Chelsea. Because, look, I don't want to just be lazy and say go 2-1 for Chelsea because we beat Palmeiras 2-1. But looking at this Chelsea team, I do see us dropping off a lot after we go 1-0 up. In most of these games against Flamengo, against Palmeiras, we went 1 goal up and then we just dropped off, and especially in the second half. At the start of the second half is when those teams scored against us. And although against Palmeiras we managed to bounce back after the equaliser, Flamengo was not the same. But the reason why I'm going 3-1 to Chelsea is because against Palmeiras we showed really good signs of bouncing back. And I think if we do score first, which I do think we will, and then Fluminense get their equaliser, whenever it may be, I think we created so much against Palmeiras, we probably should have scored 3 or 4 in that game. So I think against Fluminense, we won't miss our chances that badly. And yeah, I'm going with 3-1. So Chelsea, for me, will be going through to the final of the Club World Cup. We are the favourites to do so. We should do so. It'll be a big disappointment if we don't. But don't write off Fluminense. Don't write off Thiago Silva, especially, because he's still got it. We can't not score 3 against a 44-year-old keeper. I'm sorry, I don't want to sound disrespectful, but 44 years old is crazy. Even for a keeper, it's mental. I mean, I respect it, but we have to score a few past him. Now, Real Madrid, PSG, the big one. This is the one you've all been waiting for. This is the one we've all been waiting for. This is the game this is the final, pretty much. This is kind of like the final. I think if you'd have asked people before the tournament, who would your favourites to win be? They would have said PSG or Real Madrid. Yeah, someone would have said Man City, maybe Bayern. Maybe someone would have gone out there and said Juventus or Inter or Chelsea. But let's be honest, guys. Real Madrid and PSG were always the favourites. Always the favourites. I mean, PSG, Champions League holders. We cannot forget that. I mean, probably one of the best, most exciting teams in the world. The attack, I mean, there's literally X factor in every single player in that attack. I mean, every single player in that attack can provide a moment to just win you a game or get you a goal. So that is their real strength. Real Madrid, though, new manager, finally starting to look like it clicks. They've got their 2 wing backs, Trent and Fran Garcia, who look so dangerous attacking. They've obviously got Mbappe, who is not going to go easy on his old club. He's going to want to send a statement to PSG fans and PSG and get a goal against his old club. I think this is the first time they've actually met since Mbappe signed for Madrid. I'm pretty sure they didn't play in the Champions League last season, but correct me if I'm wrong. If they did, it would have been the group stages or whatever. But yeah, Mbappe will have a lot to prove. And also, Mbappe, I think he'll start. I think he'll start over Garcia. But I think he'll also have a lot to prove in that sense as well, because he'll have to have a good performance to show Xabi Alonso, look, this is my position now. Garcia's been playing well, but this is still my position. I still am the guy who's going to provide you the goals, who's going to provide you the big moments and the big performances. So he's going to have a lot to prove, and I think he'll perform well under the pressure. I mean, it's Mbappe. He always performs well under pressure. I mean, who else do they have? Vinicius, again, has a lot to prove. He's been quite poor this tournament, in my opinion. But again, he was at one point the best player in the world, guys. We can't forget there's still a player in there. And although he's had a poor season, again, you can't write him off just suddenly turning it around. And I think what better situation to do it in than in front of the whole world against PSG. So Real Madrid obviously have the X factor as well. So it's generally a battle of 2 big teams. I think PSG are the favourites purely on form, and then Real Madrid would probably be the favourites because they just have so much to prove, and there's so much pressure and weight on this one result and that could have just incredible consequences on Real Madrid's season. So who do I think is going to win? I think, look, there's also some interesting factors that have gone into this prediction. because I mentioned in previous videos that Real Madrid were my favourites to go through over PSG. And I mentioned that because of Mbappe going back against his old club, and because Real Madrid have a lot to prove, and because they've just got the individual talent that I don't even think PSG have, even though PSG are probably up there. But Bellingham, Trent, Tchouaméni, Mbappe, Vinny, I mean, Arda Güler, these are just names that can just provide you moments at any point in the game, defensively, offensively. But there are some things that go into this because PSG have Pacho and Lucas Hernandez injured. That's two defensive players that are gone. So when that happened, obviously the Bayern game, PSG was before the Real Madrid game. I was like, wow, that really does shift the tide in Real Madrid's favour. Then Real Madrid played Dortmund and Huijsen gets sent off himself. And that to me has been Real Madrid's best defender, best centre-back this whole tournament. He's been so composed. He's been, on the ball, he's been incredible. And he's been just so solid at the back. And he'll be a big, big loss. He's similar to Pacho, I think, in terms of just also impact on the team. They're both just such solid centre-backs who you can rely on, who you can rely on and off the ball. You can feel comfortable with them on and off the ball. That's the modern centre-back. They both embody that. They're fast, they're physical, and they're going to be big losses. But look, they kind of even each other out. I think it might favour PSG a bit more, Huijsen being out than Pacho being out, because Real Madrid have, obviously, Mbappe for me is their main X factor in the attack. Because if Vinny doesn't turn it around and he stays in the kind of wobbly form he's been in, Mbappe is kind of going to have to lead the attack himself in a sense, where he's the one who's going to have to be there in the big moment and putting the chances away. And I think not having Pacho there is obviously a disadvantage for PSG, but for Real Madrid not to have Huijsen, and they play the back three, they're going to have to play someone in there, and they're going to have Tchouaméni, Rudiger, and someone like that. I think it's a bit suspect. All those players are prone to Tchouaméni and Rudiger for me. Although they've had good seasons, or they've had good Club World Cups, they are prone to a mistake every now and then. And just look at PSG's attack. PSG's attack will pounce on any mistake you make. Dembele, Doué, Barcola, those are all players who are on fire, have been on fire this season, and will punish you. Look, I know Dembele fluffed his lines after a mistake from Neuer, so I'm not trying to say that. I think Mbappe alone, you'd probably want in a big chance over those other three. But I think as a whole, Kvaratskhelia as well. How I forgot to mention Kvaratskhelia. The PSG attack is just, there's just quality flowing and oozing up every single side, the left side, the right side, the middle. It's just all there. And I think Huijsen being absent, therefore, is a bigger disadvantage for Real Madrid, because I think Real Madrid are more of a defensive side than PSG. PSG are going to probably have more of the ball. They're probably going to create more chances than Real Madrid. And Real Madrid are probably going to have to rely on that counter-attack. And I think Real Madrid not having that Huijsen, that presence in the box, that tone setter, that a defender that can set the tempo, that can calm things down, that can win you the ball back, that can clear the ball, head the ball. That to me is a bigger loss than Pacho. But don't get me wrong, both teams are at a loss here. And then obviously PSG also don't have Lucas Hernandez. So I think it does kind of even out. So PSG or Real Madrid? I personally still edge it to Real Madrid because, like I mentioned, to me PSG and Real Madrid, like I said, this should be the final. They're the two teams in the world that have the most X factor. They have the most players who just out of nowhere will just pop up with a moment. I mean, I could give you examples like Doué in the last game, just outside the box, from like a quick counter attack out of nowhere, just bottom corner in. PSG win the game. Real Madrid, I mean, Bellingham is literally has X factor oozing from him. He cherishes the big moments. For England, that bicycle kick against Slovenia or Slovakia in the last minute. For Real Madrid, the goals at the Camp Nou, the goals against Barcelona. Was it the Camp Nou? I mean, the goals in El Clasico. The last minute goals when he was scoring last minute goals. Game by game by game. Vinicius can score big goals. Champions League final, he scored twice. And they've also got Gonzalo Garcia either starting or coming off the bench, which either way he's going to be a presence in the box and he's going to finish chances that he gets. They've got Arda Güler, who has a lot to prove and has been on fire this tournament. Like I said, the fullbacks as well. And also, I've watching Real Madrid, I've seen them improve game by game by game this tournament, especially on the Xabi Alonso. I mean, what do I mean especially? On the Xabi Alonso, they've improved game by game by game this tournament, in my opinion. And I think that's going to keep on, the pattern is going to continue. They're going to play better against PSG than they did against Dortmund. In fact, Dortmund, I think they played well and they dropped off a little bit second half. And then, the scoreline at the end doesn't really signify how much Real Madrid dominated, because obviously they all came towards the end and it was just chaotic. But that still shows that Real Madrid have a little bit, of some rough edges that they just need to work on. But for me, Real Madrid will win this game. I think, again, PSG will have more of the ball, probably, unless they score early. And then PSG should create more chances. And again, Real Madrid have Courtois in goal, who, like we saw against Dortmund, you can rely on to just make an incredible stop out of nowhere and either keep you in the game or win you the game. So that's another thing. Donnarumma, again, is another good goal. I mean, anything good I say about either of these teams, I can just counter it with the same thing about the other team. So it's such a hard prediction to make. But like I said, when it comes down to 0-0 or 1-0 in the 82nd minute, who do I trust more on the ball? Do I trust a Barcola, Doué and Dembele attack over a Mbappe, Vinicius, Bellingham? I'm going with the latter. And I think, although that's not what football is, what I just said, attacks and is it hypothetical, I do think in some games, in some cases, it does come down to that. Who do you have in the moment when you need to have them? Who do you have when you need a goal? Who do you have to get you that goal when you need it? Who do you have that is likely to not miss in big chances? Who do you have that has a higher chance of scoring in the 85th minute than in the 44th? I think Mbappe is just that. I think Mbappe is genuinely more likely to finish a chance in the 88th minute than he is in the 22nd. I truly believe that. PSG have their plays as well, but I don't, at least obviously because they're younger or haven't, been at the top level for as long. Like Dembele out of nowhere had a sick season, but he doesn't really have a catalogue of moments like Mbappe does. So maybe they can do that as well. But Mbappe has proven time and time again that when you need a guy to get you a goal or get you back into a game or drag you across the finish line, Mbappe will do it. And obviously he can't do it alone. But it's not like he has to do it alone. He's got Bellingham behind him. He's got Vinicius to his left. He's got, potentially Rodrigo to his right if he plays. But, if not, he's got Trent behind him. He's got Fran Garcia. He's got Arda Güler. He's got Tchouaméni. I could just keep on listing names. And yeah, for me, Real Madrid will win. It could be, I could say 2-1. I think it could be 2-1. I think it could go Real Madrid score first or PSG score first, and then whoever team score first, the other team's obviously going to control the ball and make the most chances. So then they'll probably equalize. And then when it's all tied up at the end, when it's, sort of becoming a bit more of a scrappy game, more mistakes are being made, more chances are maybe being fumbled, I think Real Madrid have the players that will flourish in those moments more than PSG. I think that's what it comes down to. Because like I said, any other factor or trait or stat or just anything that you want to compare between the clubs is practically identical, except for, like what I said at the start, PSG have more form and Real Madrid have more to prove. Those are the only things that are kind of different between the clubs. Except from that, it's all, fair game. So there we have it, Chelsea, Real Madrid final, in my opinion. And look, when the final does come about, whether it be those teams or not, I will be making a bigger preview or a more dedicated prediction to that. But if it's Chelsea, Real Madrid, I mean, come on, guys. It's obviously going to be Chelsea. Like, you think Pedro Neto is not going to score a hat-trick against Fran Garcia? Come on, guys. Come on. I mean, be serious, guys. Be serious. I mean, we have João Pedro now. João Pedro. Who would you rather? João Pedro or Mbappe? Who would you rather? Enzo or Bellingham? Come on, guys. No, but being serious, though, I think if it's a Chelsea-Real Madrid final, obviously I will lean towards Real Madrid quite a bit. I think once they beat PSG, whichever those teams wins, to be honest, it could be PSG beating Real Madrid, but Real Madrid, if they beat PSG, will have such a platform and so much confidence going into that final that it will just work. And again, the game against PSG would just be another game of improving the Alonso ball and the fluidity of the tactics. So it'll be a tough one for us to get anything out of. But look, we'll get to that when it comes. Chelsea might not even beat Fluminense. So who knows? But again, those are my predictions. Chelsea, Real Madrid final. Chelsea 3-1 against Fluminense. Real Madrid 2-1 against PSG. But we'll see what happens. And obviously, I'll be making videos after each game and with any updates and any of that. So yeah, make sure to subscribe, like, let me know if you enjoyed. And I'll see you in a bit.